breathers.
And welcome back to yet
another
episode
of
All My Favorite People Are Dead.
Yeah, dead. Totally dead.
Dead, permanent dead.
6 feet under.
Not coming back like...
Pushing up the daisies.
Just not coming back like Dumbledore. Did I give that away? Was that a spoiler alert? Does everybody know he comes back?
I mean, I didn't read the books. I didn't see the films.
How are we friends? How is this possible?
Oh, no, I've just ruined our friendship.
Oh, jeez. I can't, we can't... Can someone tell Shannon I can't be friends with her now? How is that possible?
I'm sorry.
Let me tell you, J.K. Rowling should be given a freaking award because
Hasn't she been giving a lot of awards?
A better award. Because those books are like the size of encyclopedias. Uh-huh. And to get a fourth grader to walk around with a book like that, she should be given a fucking medal. To get kids hooked on literature and literacy and all that good stuff, she should have been given much more than the $1 billion she was given. So there.
Okay.
And the films were good. They got progressively darker, and I just yes.
One of these days, I'll sit down and force myself to watch them.
I just found that Tim Curry. You know Tim Curry, the actor.
I love
of course.
Tim Curry.
Yeah, me too. I actually, it's terrible. I thought we could do a podcast on him. And then I realized, thank goodness he's still kicking. Yes, but I wasn't sure because I knew he was sick, and I felt bad. Yeah. And I never want him to be sick. And I certainly don't, or worse, right?
He's still a spicy little guy.
But I was reading up on him and other things. Do you know he was offered the role of Snape? And he turned it down.
Really?
Yes. It was a big role in Harry Potter, and he turned it down. And actually, the guy that, maybe I'll do him. Alan Rickman played him.
Oh, yeah. I love
Put that on the list. I liked him.
Yeah.
He got typecast. Did you see there was a movie with Kevin Costner where he played the bad guy, the bad sheriff of Nottingham? And he just got typecast in that role, this guy. But I loved him.
He does make a good bad guy.
He does.
I mean,
too good.
Die Hard, come on.
Too good. Too good of a bad guy, like my boy Vincent.
But I do love him.
Yeah, you gotta love him, but we'll wait.
So so we can't do Tim Curry, but we can do Rick Wakeman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We can do that. Alan.
Alice. Oh, Alan. Why did I say Rick?
Who's Rick Wakeman? He's another guy.
I think he's in. Isn't he in Yes? He might be in the band Yes.
That's what you're thinking. I know it sounds familiar. Yeah. I know.
Oops. I don't know if he's dead or not.
I know what you meant.
Dead? I don't know.
There used to be a radio show 1,000 years ago when dinosaurs roamed the planet and I was a little girl. And they would play a game where people would call in, and the name of the game was Alive, Dead, or Indian Food. And they would name a person, and you would have to guess. Like they'd go, Jim Backus, and you would have to go, dead. Uh-huh. And then they would go like, Tim Curry, alive. Chicken vindaloo, Indian food. And you would have to guess, because sometimes they put in like Ravi Shankar, and you'd be like, Indian guy, but not Indian food. Or they would name some kind of foreign guy, and it was a person, and it wasn't. So the name of that game was Alive, Dead, or Indian Food.
I like it.
And it was hysterical, and I don't know, it was years ago, and it was just a funny thing. We should do something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to, because they're all dead.
Right. Well, I mean, we could play the game sometime anyway, just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Vegetable korma and naan on the side, and we eat a lot of Indian food, and we should do that. Okay, but everybody here is dead.
Everybody we talk about, well, mostly everybody we talk about is dead.
Yeah,
at least they should be dead.
We can make them dead. That's another podcast.
That's not my specialty.
No, murder?
No.
Not your specialty.
I
Good to know.
I enjoy listening, hearing about murder, researching murders, but I've never...
I think I talk so much people wish they were dead.
Uh-huh.
I think when they hear me...
Actually, this morning I murdered quite a few bees. Does that count?
They had it coming,
They had it coming.
They had it coming.
They really did. So there are these annoying carpenter bees that they're the big yellow ones that swoop in front of your face and just like play this game where they kind of swoop around your head, but they don't sting, right? They're just annoying and obnoxious.
So if you swat them, you don't have to worry about getting stung?
No. So years ago, my brother decided to take one of the badminton rackets that we had in the backyard.
I know where this is going.
And it became a game to take down the bees. So now that's what we do in the afternoons. Like, if you're going to be in my face, you're gonna get swat. So...
Does that apply to me as well, or just bees?
No.
Okay. Woo.
So this morning I must have taken out like 6 of them.
Okay.
And then Daisy, my little miniature pinscher, she's down running around the patio following me. The hell was that?
It was one of the bodies in the attic. You didn't hear nothing.
I didn't hear nothing.
Just go back to your beach story.
So Daisy's around the patio following me, grabbing them and chewing on them, making sure they were dead.
Okay. Does she spit them out or does she ingest them?
Sometimes she'll just sit there and crunch it and eat it.
They eat bees.
Yeah,
usually cats
she
do
does.
these things.
Yeah.
Protein.
I guess. It must be delicious.
I'm sure. It tastes like honey. Tastes like honey? Are they honeybees?
These aren't honeybees. No, they're carpenter bees.
I don't like carpenter ants.
They get into your wood. They
like carpenter ants.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like the Schwarzenegger of ants. They're huge and they bite.
Yeah, these guys are
disgusting.
big. They don't bite though. But they're fun to knock down with a badminton racket.
That's usually how I feel about small children.
So it kind of feels like a video game. Yeah.
We're going to get ladders.
It feels like a video game sometimes as well. I'm like standing there, whack! Gotcha, you son of a bitch!
Whack-a-mole, whack-a-bee.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, look, you could pick somebody else's patio and not play this game of Will I Die Today.
And how'd that work for you? Did they listen and go to your neighbor?
No. They stayed and I knocked them all down.
And they're big. They're like
big.
yellow jackets.
Yeah,
they're big.
They
all
guys.
look, I don't know which is which. I had a...
Come back to hang out on my patio sometime. They keep coming back.
I had a hornet's nest like the size of a huge piñata one year.
Yeah.
And we found that. I'm like, what the hell? And it was dormant, but even dormant, it scared me.
Sure.
And they build like honeycomb, they build these things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have the whole world to build things. Why would you build under my eaves here?
Yeah.
You have the whole world.
Do I come tree in the woods?
Do I come into your space?
Yeah.
You have the whole free world, but yet I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it. So, anyway,
to get back to had it coming.
They had it coming.
That's from Chicago.
Okay, so even though I love the 1920s, 30s, I love that time period, I've never seen Chicago.
Okay, once again, I'm leaving. We cannot be friends.
Oh,
Chicago, the newer one has Queen Latifah and Renee Zellweger.
Okay.
So you got to watch that.
Okay.
He had it coming. He had it coming. And it takes place in like women's prison, and they're all on death row.
Okay.
For like murder.
Oh shit.
These are not Girl Scouts.
Okay.
And so that's where it's hysterical. And I've seen that song used at all different places. The Renaissance Fair, they had these wenches go, he had it coming. And it's just the funniest thing. So being that we mentioned it, I want to talk about the razzle-dazzle guy himself, Bob Fosse.
Okay, so this is interesting because I know absolutely nothing about this guy.
So for those of you listening, I'm looking for a new podcast partner and a new buddy because apparently the woman that I'm working with shares nothing in common that I love.
That's not true. We love horror.
I know.
We love
I know.
Halloween.
I will expose you to musicals.
I will admit that
your musical education sucks ass.
I mean, unless we're talking rock music,
well,
or even
that's different.
Like classical music, even, but
different. Musical theater.
I've never really done the musical theater.
Okay, we have to go to Broadway. We have to. Oh, look! I happen to have a playbill
here. I see
here.
this playbill. Yeah. Okay. See, I've never been to Broadway. You've
never been to Broadway?
No. I've never been to any of these plays or musicals or anything. Like I kind of want to see Wicked.
Wicked is amazing. Wicked is so wicked.
Because I loved the book.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I would love to see it.
I started as a kid because when you grow up in New York City, that's your playground.
Yeah.
The Winter Garden and all these shows that I started going to as a child.
Okay.
So I just, having been in dancing school 1,000 years, you learn, appreciate the theater.
Okay.
So Bob Fosse was the end-all, be-all. When you studied dance, Bob Fosse at the time was end-all, be-all.
That's another thing. I can't dance.
And I can work on that with you, too.
I'm like that Phil Collins song, I can't dance.
That's so funny.
That's me.
Yeah. Okay, so I have work. Okay, note to self, get Shannon to read Harry Potter. Get Shannon to go to Broadway. Get Shannon to dance. Okay, so I have a list of things to do to help Shannon. Yeah, it's fun. So my family took me to see Dancin', which is Bob Fosse's. It's a revive. I think it was in the 80s. I think it was in the 80s with Ben Vereen. We went recently because they all know I'm a Fosse head.
Okay.
And I will tell you why.
Okay.
So here we go.
I'm curious.
Razzle Dazzle, that's another song. Okay. Robert Louis Fosse was born June 23rd, 1927 in Chicago.
Okay.
his distinctive style of choreography. Okay, that's one of the things that I saw right away, having watched his works. You ever hear the term jazz hands?
Sure.
Jazz hands.
Uh-huh.
That's Fosse.
Okay.
That's where jazz hands. Show me, come on, show me. Ready?
Oh.
There you that was good.
That was
See,
good?
that was
Right.
very good.
Okay.
That was very good.
I did a jazz hands, folks.
For those of you who can't see, she did it well. She did her very first. That's right. You're all witness to her very first jazz hands. Okay. Jazz hands turned in these other distinctive features. He is the only person to have ever won the Triple Crown, meaning Oscar, Emmy, and Tony Awards, all in the same year, in 1973. Yeah. He's recognized as one of the most significant figures in post-World War II American theater. Okay. His father, Cyril Kingsley Fosse, was a traveling salesman for the Hershey Company, and he also had some vaudeville experience. Okay. So right there, you got the theater influence.
Wait, did you say the Hershey Company? Like chocolate?
Those people, yeah. He was like a traveling salesman for the chocolates.
If I were a traveling salesman for Hershey, I would be fat as fuck.
I would be too. I would probably need insulin and wind up on my own reality show. Okay. His mom was Sadie Fosse. She was of Irish descent. Bob was the fifth of 6 children. Notice his name, Robert Louis Fosse, named after the parents' favorite author, Robert Louis Stevenson. Yeah, okay. That's cute.
Yeah, I like it.
He had some minimal dance training and lessons, but he was considered a child prodigy in dance.
Really?
Like it came naturally to him, yeah. He was heavily influenced by Fred Astaire.
Oh,
so now, So here comes the part where Bob is a teenager, 14, 15-year-old boy, starts working in burlesque clubs. Yeah.
Nice.
Doing choreography.
So there goes your inspiration for Chicago right there.
The whole thing. That's what we're going to get to. His parents were confident that their straight A student, their church-going son, wouldn't be influenced by the surroundings. Yeah, that's what can you right? Put a 14, 15-year-old boy.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
And I'm going to continue sinning. His mother thought that you could send a boy of that age into a room full of almost naked women and it would bother him because he's such a good boy.
Or he's gay.
And he was neither.
Oh, okay.
Today, what would we call sending a 14-year-old or 15-year-old boy with women putting their boobs in his face and all? You know what we'd call that? Sexual abuse. Hashtag Me Too for a boy, you know?
Well, it'd be a very happy boy.
Or confused.
Yeah.
Because at that age, yeah. I think it made him. I think it made it an indelible mark on his psyche. I think if he was older, maybe 18, 19, 20, he'd be like, hey, I'm having the time of my life. But at that age, I think there's something intimidating and terrifying and, oh, crap, what do I do? You know, like a kid in a candy store eating too much, getting a stomach ache. Yeah. That's the impression I got.
Okay.
Because it seems to have affected Bob for the rest of his life, having been married 3 times, having numerous affairs, and describing himself as almost sexually insatiable.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Following his sexual impulses into his choreography. Okay? It greatly affected the sensuality of his dance movements. His numbers were very sexually graphic, including pelvic thrusts, couples in provocative positions, and poses that initially startled audiences. Okay? Prostitutes, pimps, and criminals seem to be some of the characters and plots reflected in his obsession with man's darker nature.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Cabaret, Sweet Charity. No, Shirley MacLaine, she's a prostitute.
Okay.
Chicago, a lot of them have these very adult themes.
Okay.
Effect from working at 14 or 15 in a burlesque, you tell me.
I mean, it worked out for him in the end, right?
Yes and no. He couldn't stay faithful to any of his wives.
That's true.
So, you know, he couldn't have a decent relationship with people. So, with women, at least, that he was married to.
Okay.
So now Bob is performing in nightclubs, burlesque houses, and theaters as a dancer. And by the time he graduated high school, this is what he's doing. Wow. Okay? He was creating choreography for himself as well as for other people. Now, at a high school age, having the maturity to interact with managers, musicians, and agents while juggling high school.
I mean, if nothing else, he must have gotten in all the high school plays.
Yeah, well, I imagine he did. I imagine he was the high school plays.
That's right.
He said dancing was his sheer joy and exhilaration. That's the feeling that one gets when one dances.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can too, you know.
Yeah.
He enters the Navy in 1945, where he's placed in the entertainment unit and sent to New York. He spends 14 months in service, and performing talent saved him from actually seeing active combat like his older brothers.
So he's like in the USO shows.
Yeah, he's like in the entertainment division, not really seeing real combat, which could have saved his life.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
So now he has signature moves. The bowler hat.
The bowler hat?
Think of like Cabaret with the bowler hat, or do you ever see Cabaret? Okay, the bowler hat, rounded in shoulders. He says, turned out knees. These came, right? These are his signature moves. When you see jazz hands, when you see the gloves, the hat, the shoulders, the knees, these all became his signature movements.
Okay.
He says they came from physical limitations he had. Because he says he was initially shy. Yeah, he was initially shy. He had asthma and he wasn't a tall kid.
Okay.
So he began wearing hats because he started losing his hair early. So here comes the bowler hats.
Okay.
He began exaggerating his round-shoulderedness because he had a tendency for round shoulder. But this becomes a signature move. You know, when you see, out shoulders and in, that became one of his signature moves. In ballet, there's a turnout. He didn't have that, so he accentuated the turn in of his feet, which gave him another signature move. He says he used gloves a lot because he didn't like the look of his hands and he felt they were small. So he wore gloves.
Okay. Jazz hands with gloves.
Which is boom.
Okay.
So compared to, I want you to think of Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath, yep.
Tony Iommi.
Okay.
You know Tony Iommi? All right. Tony Iommi lost part of his finger in an accident at work, okay? And because of that, Maiden has a sound, because he's got like prosthetic a finger or two. So because of that, he's able to press down in a way that a person can't. And I think that's, in my mind, when you hear Maiden, they have this distinctive, heavy, dark sound.
First you said Black Sabbath.
A Sabbath. Did I say Maiden? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sabbath. Black Sabbath, not Maiden. I think of Maiden way too much. Okay. Sabbath has that deep, dark sound because Tony Iommi has the ability to press down on a string more so than the average person because of the finger.
I can see that.
Thing.
Yeah, I get that.
So because of that physical disability gave Sabbath their distinctive sound. I think because of his, whatever he felt he was receding, or his hands, or his knock-kneed, or round-shouldered, gave him his distinctive physical attributes as well. That his choreography wouldn't be that without his physical changes that he made, the same as Tony Iommi.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Did I explain it correctly?
Yeah, no, I get that. That makes perfect sense.
That makes sense?
It does.
You know, there's a distinctiveness that comes from somewhere. Tony Iommi becomes because he's got prosthetics, and Bob Fosse it became because he didn't have a turn in, so a turn out, so he had a turn in, and he felt he was so these things add to your distinctive style without you trying.
Sure.
Without you working too hard at it. It comes to you.
I get it.
Bob believed dance has to be approached from every angle. He was constantly searching for new ways of presenting movement. He found choreographic brilliance in knock-kneed ungracefulness. Think of somebody who's got the knees turned in and the shoulders round, but yet can make something look fluid and effortlessness. Just even with the jazz hands, just spreading it. Everybody out there, do jazz hands. Come on,
now.
I don't care where you are. Right now, do it.
Do it.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
It's that feeling of stretching your fingers and that liberation,
That kind of feels good, yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And
I should do
with a glove on.
I should do that with my dogs. Let's do jazz hands.
Jazz paws.
Jazz paws.
Jazz paws. So, I always wondered, like, where do you get the idea of the hats? And where do you get the idea of the, because usually when you dance, your shoulders are back. They're not rounded. Where did he get these ideas? That's where.
Okay.
Fabulous. And I think that's where Sabbath gets their distinctive sound.
Okay.
So that's me making comparisons.
I like it.
Good. Fosse married dance partner Mary Ann Niles on May 3rd of 47 in Detroit. In 52, a year after he divorced Niles, he married Joan McCracken, another dancer in New York. And this marriage lasted until 59. It also ended in divorce. Now, his third wife was dancer, actress Gwen Verdon. Are you familiar with? She's pretty famous. Okay. In 63, they had a daughter, Nicole Fosse, who later became a dancer and an actress herself. Fosse's constant extramarital affairs put a strain on his marriage, and by 71 they were separated, although they remained legally married until his death in 87. Gwen Verdon never remarried, and they were very close. They still remain close. They work together. She and the daughter are part of the inspiration for revitalizing the show I saw.
dancing.
It says it, yeah, it says
Okay.
it in there. There's a thing here, if you read the playbill, that they're still, I'll get into it at the end.
Okay.
So now Fosse died of a heart attack on September 23rd, 87 at George Washington University Hospital while they were doing a revival of Sweet Charity that was opening at the nearby National Theater.
Okay.
He collapsed in Gwen Verdon's arms near the Willard Hotel. Yeah, they still worked together and, had a good relationship. And, I'm sure they loved each other and I'm sure he loved her. But I'm going back to his early days. Just the womanizing. I guess when sexuality is put to you at such an early age on a silver platter.
Yeah.
That's got to do something to the psyche of a young person.
Well, plus he's also surrounded by all these beautiful dancers, like with everything he does.
Beautiful, scantily clad women, probably also trying to throw themselves at him, no matter how young
to get
he
apart
was.
or
But as a kid, to get apart, absolutely.
Yeah.
But as a kid, to have that stay with you, where I'm sure these women that are so much older than him are trying to, seduce him or whatever. It's, for a girl, you think of it if it was a young girl having that kind of experience. And, for a guy, I think it stayed with him.
Yeah.
I think it was, what his parents thinking? It's not going to affect him? Oh, he's a straight-A student, he goes to church. Those women with the pasties got nothing on him. They're not going to get a reaction out of Bob.
Shaking boobies do nothing.
In his face, nothing. As he requested, Verdon and Nicole Fosse scattered his ashes off the Atlantic coast of Long Island, where he'd been living with his girlfriend, Anne Reinking, who also was also a dancer. She's been in a lot of stuff. I'm sure if you saw her, you know she is.
Okay.
So Fosse was inducted into the National Museum of Dance in Saratoga Springs, right here in New York, in April of 2000. And I had been meaning to go there, of '07. Los Angeles Dance Awards, founded in 1994, were called the Fosse Awards, and now they are now called the American Choreography Awards.
Okay.
The Bob Fosse Gwen Verdon Fellowship was established by their daughter Nicole in 2003 at the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. So now Anne Reinking, his girlfriend, and Gwen Verdon, his former wife, kept Fosse's unique choreography alive, and they still do, even after he's been dead for years, right?
Okay.
Reinking played actually Roxy Hart in Chicago in '96. She did the choreography of the dances in the Fosse style for the revival. In 1999, Verdon served as the artistic consultant on a Broadway musical designed to showcase examples of Fosse's choreography, simply called Fosse. It's a 3-act musical review. It was conceived and directed by Richard Matby and Reinking, and choreographed by Reinking and Chet Walker. Okay. Verdon and Fosse's daughter Nicole received a special thanks credit because their show won a Tony. Okay, yada, yada, yada. If I say to you Sweet Charity, Pippin, The Pajama Game, Damn Yankees, right? All popular Fosse work. You should see some of these, if not all of these. We'll have to work on this.
So, wait, he did movies?
They were turned into movies and Broadway. I mean, I saw Chicago in the movie, the new one with Richard Gere. I don't know how new it is. I never saw it on Broadway.
Okay.
I think this was the first Fosse show I actually saw on Broadway. I didn't, for some reason, I seem to miss it on Broadway, but I've seen all the movies.
Okay.
Cabaret.
Was he in any of these movies?
No.
No?
Okay. No. Actually, no. He was in movies earlier on in his career. Now, Cabaret, one of my favorite films, set in World War II. So Bob wanted such absolute authenticity. He used actual local prostitutes as extras to do the scenes. And he asked the principal dancers not to shave under their arms and to gain a couple of pounds.
Wow.
For authenticity, yeah. That movie not only deals with Nazis, but it deals with homosexuality for the first time in a mainstream musical.
Okay.
These are a lot of grown-up subject matter in Cabaret, which I think with Joel Grey came out in the early 70s. The choreography is so subtle that the audience is never really conscious of the camera's manipulation.
Huh.
The director choreographer himself is recognized today as that individual whose overall artistic vision is responsible for melding various elements of a musical. Songs, scenes, dances, design elements into a completely theatrically satisfying entity when you add all these things together. They are often the most celebrated member of the creative team. He was one of the greatest showstoppers. The playbill does say that there is the Verdon Fosse legacy founded by his daughter Nicole. The legacy mission is to promote, preserve, and protect the artistic and intellectual property of Bob Fosse and Gwen Verdon, whose influence can still be seen across pop culture today. I know the influence they had for me when I was in dancing school as a kid. Everything in the 70s at that time was all that jazz, right? That was, now when you take your kids to dancing school, there's Irish step, and there's a lot of hip hop, and there's a lot of like Zumba. There's a lot of different things that go in a different way of what's popular.
Okay.
There was the Twyla Tharp stuff for a while, and then there was the Bob Fosse stuff for a while. But when you think of like Flashdance, at that genre, and one is based on the other. But I know the influence it had on me. His movements are very provocative. The women with their knees in 2 different zip codes, and the scantily clad, and all the boom, 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 vada, 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 boom, bada, bada, bum, bum, hip, there is a lot of that. And
so yeah, he was definitely inspired by his childhood
I like
experience.
to think that, it would be totally different if he didn't grow up in a burlesque house. I don't know.
So yeah, I guess it worked out for him in the end in a weird way.
I mean, now we're used to movements like this because this is a post-MTV age where I remember, watching MTV when they used to have videos.
Oh my God, back in the day.
Back in the day, but some of the videos were like softcore porn. Some of these MTV videos, I'm like, whoa, okay, wow, look at that. It's like worse than soap opera. It's pretty raunchy. But you're talking about his raunchiness earlier on.
It's amazing how the definition of raunchy changes from decade to decade.
Depending on what's acceptable.
What's considered acceptable.
This was considered shocking. And the subject matter, pimps and prostitutes and people, criminals in jail. These were the subject,
Not exactly dining room conversation.
Exactly. And I think it was shocking initially. And I think for somebody who's not familiar with it, you see it now, and it's not nearly as shocking, obviously, as it was in the day. But if you've never seen Cabaret, he does a lot of things with chairs. The women sit on chairs and they're in positions. The couples are in provocative, and he does. You have to see it. So if you haven't seen Cabaret or Sweet Charity, again, Shirley MacLaine is a prostitute. But aside from that, when we went to see Dancing, they get out in the beginning. They go, this is not a plot type of show. There's no boy meets girl, boy loses girl, Christmas trees, none of that. You're just going to watch people dance and be amazed at the way they move. Okay. And that's really what I think Bob Fosse is all about. And the way that almost like, like a sculptor would study the human form, when making a painting or a sculpture with the way the hand goes, and the lines of the human form. I think he did a lot of that.
So he's
imposing
a human sculptor of motion and dance.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Watching, if I turn my leg inward and I turn my shoulder outward and I turn my head in this direction, and there's a lot of like the hand over the head with a lot of the drape with the elbow up, and a lot of, there's a lot of that. And it's sultry and it's fun to do. Not only is it fun to watch, it's fun to do.
Okay.
And that's my spiel on Bob Fosse. And if you get a chance to see the revival, it's called Dancin', DANCIN, and it's at the theater down in, what is it called? I've got the name of the theater. Because I'm old and I can't remember anything. I can't remember the name of the theater. Look it up. You all have Google, don't you? Go look it up and go see the show. And the Music Box Theater. That's right. The Music Box Theater. If you get a chance to check out the show, it's all dancing, some fabulous singing as well.
Okay.
But and the costumes are always just fun. It's fun. Fosse is fun.
Fun and provocative.
And it makes you think, and then it makes you go, how did she do that? How did she get her leg like that? I always wondered that.
Yeah, for me, that would be instant death.
Yeah, you'd pull a muscle and wind up in a wheelchair. No, it takes time. Flexibility. As anybody's ever been to class with me, flexibility takes regularity. You can't just suddenly get up and contort yourself into that position.
Yeah,
It takes years, but it looks effortless. When I see these people in the show, and I know how hard that movement is.
Yeah.
I know how hard that is on your joint and your knee and your body, and I know how hard it is to hold that pose and get into that pose and then get out of that pose.
Yeah, that's my concern. I'd be afraid that once I got there, I'd be stuck forever.
And it's possible,
It's possible.
It's possible, that you call the paramedics.
Yeah, my knees don't. They don't operate
Your knee
like
doesn't.
that.
Yeah,
No.
your knee's not used to that kind of.
No.
Hip hop is a lot like that now with the pop and lock. I hear it pop and I think it locked. I give new meaning to pop and lock. I'm like, oh, I heard it pop. Now I need a cortisone injection, and now it's locked. Yeah, there we go.
My whole body just went.
I don't think that's what they meant with pop and lock when they are, old people like me. But but I was at Zumba this morning.
Oh, yeah.
And the movements are just so different. Things that, that I've done one way, it's the same movement, single, double, whatever it is. But it's done in a totally different, instead of up, or it's down, instead of, it's a totally different extension. The elbow is, it's the same motion done in a different way.
Okay.
And that's what I like about learning different forms of dance. I try to do something different every couple of years.
Well, you're going to have to teach me because...
I will teach you. I will teach you the basics of jazz. And
well, I already got the hands down.
You got the hands. Woo! So then we'll work to your elbow. Eventually we'll get to your knee and jazz hands. One more time, everybody. Jazz hands. And that's my spiel on Bob Fosse. One of my favorites.
I clearly have some research to do. I clearly got some musicals to watch and...
Yeah. And
things like that.
We'll do that. But musical theater is very important. Theater is very important for youngins.
Sure.
There's not enough theater in schools. I can't say enough about it. And, without theater, we'd be, up the creek without a paddle.
We'd be boring.
Yeah, it's important to find a way to express yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm going to get off my soapbox now. So that's why he's one of my favorite dead choreographers.
Favorite dead choreographers.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
So there you go.
Well, thanks.
Okay. That's what I do.
All right.
That's why we're here, folks.
That's why we're here. We're here to discuss the dead.
Our favorite dead people. Some of our favorite dead people.
And our favorite jazz hands.
And jazz hands. Jazz hands. If you're dead, you can't do jazz hands. Unless rigor mortis sets in.
Oh, and then you
if your hands are out, then you're kind of stuck in that position. You're stuck with jazz hands if your fingers are out.
You said he was cremated, right? So
he was cremated, so no jazz hands.
No jazz hands. Right.
No, jazz ashes.
Okay. So,
do you know cremation ashes are called cremains?
Yes.
Okay, I just learned that term. Yeah. I thought they were called cremation ashes.
Well, like sometimes when I'm hanging out in the office at the cemetery, hanging out with my peeps over there.
Yeah,
you'll see a box.
It says cremains.
Yeah.
I thought it was cremation. That they call cremain, not remains.
No.
What remains of your cremains?
What remains of my jazz hands?
What remains of my cremains? That could be another podcast. What remains of my cremains? We should do that. Oh, yeah. Like famous people who were cremated.
Yeah.
You could do a lot with cremation ashes, cremains now.
You can turn them into
put
diamonds
them in trees.
And
you could turn them into new people.
Our pizza's here.
Ooh, that's my pizza guy.
That's our cue, folks.
All right, we're hungry. Tune in next time
on
All My Favorite People Are Dead. Stay breathing, people.
Bye.
Dead.